bit.
Come bienvenue, welcome once again to another Cladding Matters. I know there are a lot of you out there watching now, and it's really pleasing to see, but what has changed? It was the last time, if you recall, there was a release of a video with some poignant words trying to get Greenwich Council to revisit their position. Well, that's all changed, because it seems they can't settle on whether they're neutral or they have an opinion. Well, they've got an opinion. To be neutral, you can't have an opinion. Apparently they do. But before we get into all of that, I'm first going to pass over the caber, or is it the baton, to Hamish. Would you start us off, sir?
It would have to be caber. Because it's much more calamitous when it lands on people's heads and stuff like that.
Right.
We have a calamitous situation here. It was to be entitled Same Council, Different Standard. And I think probably that actually is probably quite true. We were trying to compare what the intent was, to actually compare the attitude of a council, which on one hand is suggesting that a property be damned because of the garden on the top of it and some community infrastructure wasn't quite right. And that one demanded massive, great attention from the developer, massive sums of money being spent. But on the other hand, we have got Royal Artillery Quays that has danger to life because of the construction that was carried out at the time of it was built. Now, that is, that has actually been mentioned in so many different cases. It's been proven by so many different sort of people, and there's no getting away from it. That is the situation. Yet, for some strange reason, the council is considering it far, far more important to get dramatic about a roof garden than it is about people's lives. Now, I know where I would be focusing my attention, and it certainly wouldn't. I would love people to have their garden, of course, their roof garden. But I would actually be, personally, if I was a council member, I would be much more conscious of what was happening to residents in a place where their lives were at risk. And I was a councillor saying I was completely neutral, and I was not going to take into consideration any of the damning evidence I had that I could intervene about and actually force that particular builder to do the right thing.
Wow. Well, we're already getting interest. I can see it popping up. I would say that we first need to go straight to Wendy. Wendy, this seems to be absurd. There are lots and lots of flats that are within there that should be part out there helping first-time buyers or anybody to get on the ladder, but they can't be moved. They can't be sold, they can't be bought, and they certainly can't be insured right now.
Indeed, it's a really frustrating situation. You know, we are in a position in our country where we've got a housing crisis. There are not enough homes being built, in spite of the fact that the government is promising 1.5 million new homes over the next 5 years. But, you know, if those homes get built, but we don't deal with the existing housing stock, actually we'll be going backwards in terms of the number of homes in supply. So why not already address the issues and make the homes that we have more livable, right? You know, the ones that we have right now.
It does seem absurd. Steve, I believe the Granville Trust themselves have started to take a real interest in this. In fact, I'm just going to pop up on the screen a mail that was sent to you, if I can. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let's try that. There we go. From the Granville Tower Trust.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on here?
Yeah, so I mean, for those that have been following this growing saga of the council trying to say all our evidence doesn't exist based on all information they received, which was pretty much all of it. You know, that's exactly what happened with the Grenfell Tower. The residents were ignored, they were belittled, and they were basically told to shut up. And so their quote is, it's a response to the Cladding Matters podcast, actually. We were discussing this, and it says the price of not listening has cost us 72 people dead and hundreds losing their livelihood. And then this is addressing Greenwich Council: do the right thing and listen to your residents. And you know, so it's upset them because the part of the legacy of Grenfell isn't just the justice against the companies that wronged Grenfell bereaved. It's about a legacy that we actually move on, where councils listen. And here we have a council that's basically taking two different approaches. So yeah, so this is a really important slide. So they've, you know, we understand that their position now, it hasn't been published yet in the press. So, you know, it may change, and let's hope it does. And I would encourage anyone from the council, you haven't published it yet, please change your position. But at the moment, their position is they've remained neutral. So remained means they've always held that position, right? That's a reasonable understanding. Well, if we have a look at this slide, you'll see that they don't always hold that position, as they claim in their latest statement released yesterday. The first position they held was that the work was not signed off to the building regulations 2000 on the fire shafts, and it was missing fire doors at the bottom level on every one of the 8 towers. And you come to Royal Artillery, you can see there's no fire doors separating the stairs and the lift. That was a requirement of the regs. So if there's a missing fire door, you have to be an expert. You just say, I can't fill the door there. So they recognized that. They said it was a breach. They recognized it as a breach of building regulations at the time of construction. So let's just be clear. Then they say there is no evidence based on all information, including their own evidence from their own department, that building regulations breached regulations enforced at the time. So they disagree with their own evidence. And they're not just saying that evidence, they're saying all information that was sent. And we sent pretty much everything to them. And they're saying there's just no evidence, disagreeing with their own department. But now we have a final position where they've always remained neutral. They didn't hold a position that in the first quote that it breached regs, and in the second quote that it didn't. Apparently, they've never held a view, and they don't want to take sides, which is the dictionary definition of neutral. This is how absurd this is. And it's doing, you know, I know I told you guys privately, but I've got a lot of angry residents, and it isn't they're all bad people. They feel that for 4.5 years, this remediation and the saga with Barratt has gone on long enough, and they want to have it started. And the point that I'd say is half of the remediation is started. The council will want to give the impression that it's all signed off. It isn't. It's only part of it, the external walls. The internal walls are going to have to be done properly, and these regulations exist. And just to give you a feel for how dangerous these internal wall defects are, one of the fire reports stated that the defects they analysed were so serious that they would recommend prosecutions. You know, criminal prosecutions, they're so dangerous if a fire happened. The council says, oh, well, indifferent to that, we're taking a neutral position. Who cares about possible defects that are so dangerous you could get prosecutions? You know, that's ridiculous. We don't care. That's the message to residents. And it's causing me trouble at home because there's some people who want to believe I've made all the defects up and to shut up, move on as chair, get someone else in, and just get Barratt to do what they like. And, you know, that's, you know, we want to work with Barratt, and they have said that they want to fix all the defects at construction. So why are the council undermining us?
It's quite interesting, I think, that you've finally got a way forward. Barratt's wanted to play ball, and now the council are effectively undermining the whole process.
Yes, we've got an internal remediation that isn't scoped. It's not signed off. It's a situation where if there is evidence of defects that the council are denying, and now they don't even want to have a position, having had one that's so strong that said there's no evidence of it whatsoever. Now they say, well, we don't want to get involved, but they won't retract that dangerous position that the council have declared previously in April that there's no evidence whatsoever. So although they don't want to take sides now, they haven't retracted that position. So the damage is still there. And I guess the other part of this is this isn't consistent even with their own decisions. So that was Royal Artillery Quays, for those that don't know the saga. But there is another one, ironically, just down the river. You can go half a mile from Royal Artillery Quays west towards the just before the Thames Barrier, actually, and you'll see that there's some big towers with cladding on, and the council wrote back in July 2024, the Royal Borough of Greenwich has taken the decision as a local planning authority to progress with enforcement action. And the council extensive investigated over the last years concluded that the completed Mast Quay Phase 2 built to rent development was built without planning permission and is therefore unlawful because it has so substantially different to the planning permission that was granted in 2012. And they wanted it to be demolished partially.
So hang on a moment. So this isn't like someone's erected a shed in their garden without considering planning permission. This is the whole huge development of probably millions of pounds to erect it in the first place.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, no.
The problem we've got here is, you've got a completely different approach being taken. And Councillor Okereke, who's actually the council leader, he writes, this decision is not one that the Royal Borough of Greenwich has taken lightly, but I believe in a reasonable and proportionate to the scale and seriousness of the situation. Two prominent high-rise buildings on Woolwich's Riverside that are built incorrectly is just not good enough. And the reason they're not good enough is because the development that was given planning permission is not the one that we see before us today. So therefore,
hang on a moment. If they can write that there, why are they struggling so hard at Royal Artillery Quays?
Well, the final quote is the best one, and then we can compare. So the right thing to do is not usually, and this is Anthony Okereke, the leader, so this should come back to haunt him. The right thing to do is not usually the easiest thing to do. That is why we will not stand by and allow poor quality and unlawful development anywhere in our borough, and we are not afraid of taking difficult decisions when we believe it's the right thing to do.
Well, then this definition of what is the right thing to do seems a little bit perhaps faulty.
Yes, so it's completely inconsistent. Then we go back to Royal Artillery Quays, where the council have said yesterday, we understand that it is not a position they want to take, that the unlawful evidence, including from their own building control department, that condemns our fire shafts, our only escape stair going up 16 stories, they don't want to take a view on it. Why should they? Why should they? Even though they previously took a view that it was unlawful and then denied all the evidence exists. Now they don't want to have a view. They just don't. Why should they care?
Well, Wendy in the background has been labeling people as apathetic and calling them fence sitters. How could you say such a thing, Wendy?
Well, I've got a question. Surely if the planning application for Royal Artillery Quays, probably, I don't know for sure, but it may have included doors at the bottom of the fire stairs to compartmentalize them, and then they haven't been built with those doors in situ. Surely that's also going against the planning application and building a different building versus what was approved in the plans.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the plans, and in one of our fire documents for the remediation we're having now, it actually has a picture of where the door should be on the plans. It's missing.
It's MIA, missing in action. Hamish, it just occurs to me, how many lives is it worth to not go ahead and do the remediation properly? How many? I mean, is it one life okay? Are we okay to lose 2 lives? How many lives?
One of the aspects that either the press doesn't want to actually push through with or investigate more fully are the positions that different people find themselves in as a consequence of what's going not just at Royal Artillery Quays. In fairness, there has been far more serious loss of life, not through the fires themselves, but because of the mindset of basically the councils that are putting them through. The councils can determine what needs to happen or not. They have a choice.
Or not, yes. Yeah.
And they take the stance that they're going to be neutral about this whole thing. It's a little bit like standing on the Titanic. You know there's an iceberg there, like we know there's a fire risk there. And you're going towards this. There is a potential of you hitting that iceberg. Now, what do you actually sort of do if you're stood on the deck in your Titanic?
I'm afraid I have to take a neutral position about this, Hamish.
The neutral position is to do nothing and go into the iceberg.
Yes. God, it beggars belief. Absolutely beggars belief. But as has become a little bit of a tradition now, when we are faced, Steve, with these impossibilities, we tend to put them together into a song. And to that end, Steve and I have created something which I'm hoping you'll find will perk your ears up. And to any of the council listening, this is for you.
Neutral. That's what they said. Like it was wisdom. Like it was justice. Like it was anything but running scared in a sharp suit. They said we remain neutral. Neutral while homes cracked, while truth stacked, while building control's own report said the walls don't keep fire where fire belongs. "2019, your own voice said breach. April 2025, you swallowed that voice. May 2025, you called it neutral. Like erasure is a strategy, like amnesia is policy. Neutral is a noise, the sound of shutters coming down, of inboxes ignored, of residents kept in limbo, not fire safe, not told, but always invoiced. You don't get to remain neutral when the breach is on paper and the fear is in people's dreams. Neutral doesn't live here, but danger does, confusion does, and cowardice. It's got a parking permit. So no greenage. This isn't balance. This isn't diplomacy. This is a disappearing act, a sleight of hand with people's homes at stake. And while you hide behind your favorite word, we'll keep saying our. Accountability. Because we are not neutral. We are the voice you try to drown out.
we've been Cladding Matters. Take note, please. I'm hoping that Greenwich Council don't see this as an attack. This is an opportunity to do the right thing. Until next week, try and keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and pray for some sort of integrity to return. Until next week, goodbye.
There's a tale about some folks with hammers and some nails. They'll promise you the moon, but their word always fails.